What does a man who has everything ask a complete stranger 1 week after his heart is broken? In November of 2017, the world found out, and it was not what anyone expected. A journalist had come to talk to Elon Musk about the future, rockets, factories, Mars. Instead, he found a 46-year-old man who could barely finish a sentence. What Elon Musk said that afternoon was recorded, published, and then quickly buried under louder headlines. But it may be the most honest thing he has ever said out loud. A confession that reaches all the way back to a small boy in South Africa, and one promise that boy made to himself. This is the story of the day the world's busiest man admitted the one thing money had never fixed. Picture the scene, because it really happened, more or less exactly like this. Late 2017, a design facility in Los Angeles, one of the beating hearts of Elon Musk's empire. Around him, the machinery of the future, engineers, prototypes, screens full of tomorrow. A writer from a famous magazine has been given rare access, the kind of access reporters wait years for. He is there to profile the man of the decade. And the man of the decade is falling apart. Days earlier, barely a week, Elon's relationship with the actress Amber Heard had ended. It had been, by every account, a deep and complicated love. 2 enormous lives, 2 brutal schedules, an ocean of distance, and a year of trying to make the impossible arithmetic of their calendars come out right. It had not come out right. The journalist asked about it gently, and Elon Musk, the man famous for having an answer to everything, went silent. Then, by the journalist's own published account, he spoke, haltingly, about how hard the past weeks had been. He admitted it plainly, in words that stunned the writer with their bareness. He said he had been really in love, and that it hurt, badly. Executives learn to say nothing in moments like this. Billionaires have publicists for moments like this. Elon Musk just sat there, in front of a stranger with a recorder, hurting out loud. And then he asked the question, the one nobody saw coming. He looked at the journalist, a man he barely knew, a man whose job was to expose him, and he asked, in complete sincerity, "Is there anybody you think I should date? It's so hard for me to even meet people." Sit with that for a moment. The man who commanded rockets was asking a reporter for help finding someone to love. Not as a joke, not as a performance, as a plea from a man who had run out of ideas on the one problem that mattered most. He explained the trap of his life in a sentence that should be sadder than it is famous. He said he was looking for a long-term relationship, not a fling, but someone real. And how exactly does the most recognizable man in America meet someone real? Every room he enters bends around him. Every stranger wants something. Every dinner is a negotiation with his own legend. The journalist, to his credit, did not laugh. Perhaps he understood he was witnessing something rare, the exact moment a myth admits to being a man. Around them, the future kept humming. Somewhere, a rocket was being prepared. Somewhere, a factory was running through the night with his name on it. Millions of people, that very hour, were tweeting about him, investing in him, cursing him, praising him. You can be needed by millions and still not be chosen by one. But the confession was not finished, because when the journalist pressed deeper, Elon Musk did something he almost never does. He went back to the beginning. He began to talk about being a child. Not the business legend of the boy who read encyclopedias. The other child, the small, odd, unbearably lonely boy in Pretoria, South Africa, who did not fit anywhere. The boy other children pushed away. The boy who spent his breaks alone, who learned early that the world does not automatically make room for you. And Elon told the journalist about a promise that boy had made to himself. He said that when he was a child, there was one thing he said to himself, one vow that had quietly steered his entire life. I never want to be alone. That is the sentence. That is, perhaps, the master key to the whole man. Never alone. So he filled his life. Companies that never sleep, factories that run all night, thousands of employees, millions of followers, 5 sons filling his weekends, a phone that never stops. From a certain distance, no human being on Earth was less alone than Elon Musk in 2017. And yet, there he sat, telling a stranger that going home was the hardest part of his day. He spoke about the particular dread of it, being alone at night in a big, empty house, the kind of house his money had built, with its long, dark hallways and rooms nobody used. The little boy in Pretoria had kept his promise in every way except the one that counted. And this is the part of the story most people have never heard, because what he said next explains not just his heartbreak, but his empire. If you have ever known a child like that, and many of us have, in our own families, at our own kitchen tables, you know the particular ache of watching one. The child who stands at the edge of the playground, studying the games he is not invited into. The child who is told, in 100 small ways, that he is too odd, too intense, too much. Some children like that grow smaller to fit the room. This one grew a world of his own instead. Books, machines, planets, and carried it with him into adulthood, still hoping someone would ask to come inside. The journalist would later publish the words exactly, and they are worth hearing exactly. Elon Musk said, "If I'm not in love, if I'm not with a long-term companion, I cannot be happy." Cannot. Not will not prefer not. Cannot. Here was a man who had taught himself rocket science from books, a man who had stared down bankruptcy twice in one winter and blinked at neither, a man the newspapers called the real-life Iron Man, who seemed to feel no fear where ordinary people feel it most. And he was confessing that all of it, ran on a fuel he could not manufacture. That without someone beside him, the whole gleaming machine of his life produced no happiness at all. Zero. Think of what that means for a person like him. Every problem in Elon Musk's world has an engineering answer. Rockets that fail can be redesigned. Factories that stall can be rebuilt. Money that runs out can be raised. But love cannot be engineered. It cannot be scheduled, hired, acquired, or forced through by working 120 hours a week. It is the one system with no override, and it had just failed on him again. Perhaps that is why the interview reads less like journalism and more like a confession through a screen door, a man saying to a stranger what he could not say to the millions. I built everything, and I still go to sleep alone, and I am afraid of it, and I have always been afraid of it, since I was a boy. The magazine published it. The world read it, chuckled at the dating question, and scrolled on. Almost nobody stopped to hear what had actually been said. And the timing makes it all the more haunting. Because look at what the world was watching Elon Musk do in that exact season of his life. His rockets were now landing themselves upright on ships at sea, something out of science fiction happening on live streams. His car company was fighting through the most ambitious production ramp in modern industry. He was, by nearly any measure, at the peak of his powers, one of the most consequential human beings alive. The public saw the peak. The recorder in that Los Angeles room caught the man standing on it, and how cold it was up there. That is the cruelty of a life like his, and perhaps of great success anywhere. The higher you rise, the fewer people can reach you. Old friends grow careful around you. New faces want the legend, not the man. Even kindness becomes suspicious. And so the crowd around you grows in exact proportion to your loneliness, until you are the most surrounded, solitary person on the planet. Older souls watching this may recognize the shape of it, even without the billions. Anyone who has been the strong one in a family knows it, the one everyone leans on, the one who fixes things, provides things, holds things up, and who nobody ever thinks to ask, quietly, at the end of the day, "And how are you?" Elon Musk, in November 2017, was the strong one for an entire civilization's dreams about the future. And a stranger with a recorder was, for one afternoon, the only person who asked. There is a particular cruelty to that kind of timing, and life seems to specialize in it. The season of a person's greatest public triumph arriving in the exact season of their loneliest private hour. The banquet with the empty chair beside it. We can only imagine what it felt like to stand in front of cheering crowds that autumn and know that the applause, however loud, would not follow him home. Life moved on the way it does. There were reconciliations and final endings in the months that followed, and in time, new chapters entirely. New love, new children, new storms. The 2017 interview slid into the archives, one strange afternoon in a life that generates a headline a day. But it never quite disappeared, because people keep rediscovering it, and it keeps unsettling them. It is one thing to suspect that the powerful are lonely. It is another to hear one say it plainly on the record. Really in love. It hurt bad. I never want to be alone. If I am not in love, I cannot be happy. We can only imagine what it cost him to say those things. A man raised to treat weakness as a luxury from a childhood where softness was punished. Perhaps he regretted it the moment the magazine hit the stands. Perhaps, in some hidden way, it was a relief. The way confession always is. Either way, it stands as something rare in the record of his life, proof, in his own words, of what all the machines were partly for. You can be needed by millions and still not be chosen by one. He knew it. He said it. And then he went back to work. Because work, at least, never leaves. The rockets kept landing. The world kept arguing. And somewhere in a big house with too many empty rooms, the little boy from Pretoria kept trying to outrun his own first promise. There is a habit we have with famous people, and it is not kind. We decide they are made of different material, that the money insulates them, that a man who can summon rockets from the sea cannot possibly ache the way we ache in the ordinary human places. The afternoon of November 2017 says otherwise. It says that behind the most argued about name of our time was a man in his mid-40s who had just been left, who dreaded his own hallway at night, and who asked a near stranger to help him find someone, because he had built everything a person can build except a way home. Do not mistake this for pity. Elon Musk does not need pity, and he has never asked for it. He made his choices. The empty rooms were partly the bill for them, and he has said as much. But understanding is different from pity, and understanding him means holding both truths at once. The giant who changed what humanity can do, and the boy who promised himself he would never be alone, and grew up to be alone at the very top of the world. Both of those people are real. Both of them are him. This channel exists for exactly these moments. The sentences history mumbles while the headlines shout. If you were moved tonight, subscribing to Elon Musk, Untold Legacy, is how you make sure the next quiet sentence reaches you too. And before you go, if there is someone in your life who is always the strong one, ask them tonight how they are. You may be the only one who does. Perhaps that is the real gift of that strange, sad interview. Not what it revealed about one famous man, but what it quietly permits the rest of us. If a man with rockets and billions can say out loud that he never wants to be alone, then the rest of us are allowed to say it too. To the friend we have not called, to the family gathered at a holiday table, to ourselves on the quiet evenings. Loneliness, it turns out, is not a failure of success. It is simply the price of being human. And naming it, as he did into that recorder, is the beginning of bearing it.